Hello and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium and a spiritual teacher. Today, you've clicked on a video that happens to be a part of a series that I do called Wisdom on Wednesdays. You may or may not be familiar with that, but if you are not familiar with it, I invite you to, at the end of this video, which I hope you find interesting and informative, I invite you to click on the logo and go to my main YouTube page, go to playlist and check out the Wow Wisdom on Wednesday playlist because there's over 80 free spiritual videos for you that talk about everything from how to raise your vibration to what the heck are we doing? Like the missing human instruction manual that still trips me up. Like, why would they send us down here? Right. Like, and then whoop, wipe our brains and like be go forth and prosper, do the best you can. Here's your astrology, here's your numerology. Good luck. You know what I mean? Like, thanks, I think. Not really. So anyway, listen, there's lots of videos like that on my playlist, and I've been told they're pretty helpful. So hopefully they're helpful to you as well. Today we're going to talk about. By the way, if you're new here, I'm channeling this, and I'm only really responsible for 40% of this interaction. 60% is my spirit guides. So when I say I'm told, I really am told. What I'm told is we're going to talk about this concept of when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Okay. Now, everything I talk about to you guys is part of my own life experience. Like, I have no notes, there's no script here. I really am channeling this, and I get my I want to say fodder, but then they want to use the word rich, and those two things, rich fodder, I don't know. I think they've gone off the I don't know what's happening. But anyway, I get the insight. It's still not the right word. They want to use impulse. Holy moly. Okay, anyway, I get the stuff for these videos from my own life. Okay. So I have noticed something. I am, by the way, if you are do follow me, this is a new location, right? So I'm in a new location, but I am heading back to Texas for the summer heat, for the rest of the summer heat, which in Texas is summer part two starting in September. So um I'm at an Airbnb, and if you also watched me a long time, but if you haven't, I would suggest you might find it funny and insightful and maybe even informative to check out my ghost playlist because it's just, like when I'm at these Airbnbs, invariably I'm going to have a ghost situation. And my friend was just saying, "Oh, Susan, you spent a whole month and you didn't have any ghost problems." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's great, right?" So I come into this new house and I'm like, "Oh, the energy feels great. I'm good here." And then I had a little scenario happen that I want to talk about because this is what happened. This is what happened to me, and it gave me a new awareness of how our spirit guides work with us. Even me, like I talk to ghosts, I can talk to ghosts all day and all night. No problem talking to ghosts. No problem talking to dead people, aliens, freaking A, all that stuff. That's the problem in my life. In my particular life, the problem is it's too easy and I've spent my whole life blocking it, right? So in your life, that might be also the case. Or it could be the case that you're trying to connect and you're trying to connect and you just can't do it, right? It's either like, what do they say? Like, it's either an embarrassment of riches or you're starving to death, right? Like, it's like one or the other, right? So we're all trying to find the middle path. Okay. So in my situation here, I'm blocking. For one thing, I'm on a working vacation, meaning, anyway, I don't care when it is. Like, if you got to have boundaries. If you're a ghost, they can see that I'm a medium. Okay. So here's the thing, they know whether you believe it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, doesn't matter. You got a little light on top of your head that says, I can hear you, I can see you. And it's like a little special antenna that's vibrating and lighting up. And you have no idea that it's doing that. You're just trying to live your human life. Like I told my spirit guides yesterday, I'm just trying to be a human on earth. They said, that's not at all what your contract says. Go read your contract, lady. Again, stop calling customer service. You've been calling too many times for the same complaint. Stop it. Just get on with your life. Deal with it, right? So for you, the teacher will appear, right? So let me just tell you some ways in which that teacher can appear. So for me, I'll tell you a little bit about this story. I'm sharing this story in detail on my membership. So if you're interested, you can join my membership and you can get the blow by blow. But anyway, a little bit about it is that when I got to this Airbnb, which I love, it's a beautiful place. I'm so lucky to be in such a beautiful home, and it has a beautiful backyard. And I have my dog, which you can see on the couch there with me, Zoe. But I started hearing this muffled voice. Now, if you're clairaudient, which means you can hear psychically. Now, what that means is sometimes it could be only one time in your whole life you heard your name called and no one was there. One time that counts. Okay. Or when you're going to sleep, you hear like a faraway radio playing. Or sometimes you're just hear things that you're like, I don't think that's real, right? I'm not sure. That's a clairaudience. The clair is clear in French, and that's part of your psychic abilities. Now, you guys, we all have intuitive abilities. All of us, all humans come preloaded with this luxury, like extra cost, like add on, luxury add on. We're preloaded with it. This is why I'm doing this video, I guess, is to talk about the fact that a lot of us are opening up and the teacher will appear, and how the teacher can appear in a way that is so unsuspecting, right? So for those of you that are searching for your abilities, very simply, and I hate when they say very simply because I want to argue with them about that. But anyway, very simply is what they say. Jot down, record what happens to you, because your brain, believe me, it's happening to you. Okay, you're having the ability, you're having the psychic information download, you're having the weird smell that nobody else smells, you're hearing the thing nobody else hears, you're having the dream that is so real where the person who's crossed over came and visited you. You're having the dream or the vision of something that happens, and it literally happens, and it freaks you out because you're like, oh my God, I saw this in my dream. Or you're having the dream that doesn't make any sense and it never makes any sense, or all those things that don't make any sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, and it's not, because again, you're living a human life, you know, this is like outside of the bounds of our human everyday expectations. We expect to pay money to live in a house, to pay the bills. We expect to have to go buy some food. We expect, whatever it is, those are human conditions. We don't expect to smell something like cigarette smoke and nobody smokes. We don't expect to hear our name called and no one's there. We don't expect to know, without knowing how we know, that our boss is going to get fired, or that our child, our kid, our grown up child is going to get that job. We often say, don't ask me how I know. I just know. Well, how do you know? I don't know how I know. I just know it. Y'all, that is psychic. That's intuition. Okay. So if you jot those things down, write those things down every time it happens, on your phone, just open up the notes. Today, I smell flowers. I was inside. There's no flowers. Last week, I had a dream. 3 days before that, I had a song stuck in my head, which is also clairaudience. These are all messages from your spirit guides and your loved ones. But taken one by one, they don't have any meaning. Your brain will say, weird, and be like, kick it out. You will not remember. I know this for a fact because when I came out as a psychic to my friends, they all looked at me like, you didn't know? It's like, no, I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? They're like, you don't remember this thing? You don't remember that thing? What about this time? Like they were all telling me all these things that they remembered, clearly remembered. And once they told me, I was like, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Because my brain said, Susan, this is not going to pay your bills. This is not going to keep you safe, or whatever the things that the human mind thinks is important. So I just forgot it. It said, forget that. That's useless information. You don't need to think about it. Okay. So write it down, because if you write it down, it's all going to make sense. Well, no, it's not. That's not even true. That is so not true. It's going to make more sense. It's going to make more sense because you're going to say, you know what? when I'm looking back at my things that I wrote down, I smelled flowers a month ago. And now that I'm looking back on it, I can see that my mom's birthday was the next day and she loved flowers. But at the time, you're not going to put two and two together because your brain is saying, why do I smell flowers? And you're like, you're trying to smell it. Nobody else smells it. Everybody's like, no, we don't smell it, weirdo, right? You're like, you don't smell that because it's so in your nose. It's like so prominent in your nose that but at the time you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, like go. But a month later, a week later, sometime later, your brain can look at it objectively and connect those dots. Okay. So if you're looking to figure out what are my abilities, how do I have abilities, how do I sharpen my abilities, that's how you do it. You write it down, you track it, you make sense of it, and then you start paying attention to it. And then your brain says, oh, this is useful. You want me to pay attention to this? Okay, I will. But you have to train yourself to do that. Now, for me, what happened when I moved into this Airbnb is I heard this muffled noise and a voice. It was a woman's voice. And I was like, when you're clairaudient and you know you're clairaudient, you're used to hearing things that aren't there. And you really have to sort it out and go, is that a person or is that spirit? Like you really do. It's kind of maddening in a sense. So I was doing that thing. I was like, did I did I hear that? Is that and it was but it was so real. When you do it a lot, you kind of get a sense. It does sound a little different, okay? But this was on the verge of that. It was like, it's real, but it's not real. I couldn't figure it out. So I literally looked out every window. This house is a little higher up and I can look down onto the driveway. I didn't see any cars. I didn't see any humans. I didn't see anybody. Nobody was outside. There was nothing. And then I'm hearing this little dog bark, like muffled. I'm like, did I hear a dog? Did I hear a dog? So I'm like, God, now I'm getting a ghost dog and a ghost woman. And I'm like, I'm like, this is what I always do, right? Like la 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 la. Like, I don't want to know. Like that's how I've gotten through my whole life because I have a little too much of it. And I didn't have boundaries and I had to figure out how to have boundaries. And apparently I'm still figuring out how to have boundaries. So anyway, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore it. But it got worse. I started picking up actual words like lay down, like somebody whispering, lay down. I'm like, it's coming inside the house. Y'all, the call is coming from inside the house, I swear. I was about to call my psychic friends and have a 5 alarm exorcism on this house, like for real. Like I was getting ready to drop the psychic on this house. So then I said, okay, I'm going to sleep on this because they weren't bothering me at night. So I was like, I'm going to wake up in the morning and decide what to do. I sleep upstairs. I walk outside of the bedroom. And this is the thing. I look at the attic door and I'm like, oh, there's something in the attic. Now, here's what's interesting. I never heard the voice up there. I always heard the voice down here, specifically right over there. Always. I heard it over there by the stairs, which you can't see. I didn't hear it upstairs, but for some reason, I was like, the attic. Okay, now why? Why would I be drawn to the attic when I didn't hear any voices up there? So I knew that the attic, there's something in the attic, like a ghost or something. Okay. Now, that same day, I go downstairs, I go on my day, I'm in the backyard, and the owner of the house shows up to put some water in this fountain feature she has that, it evaporates after a while. We're chatting. She's so nice, and she has a little dog. And I'm like, do you live around here, like nearby? Because I'm like, does she live in the attic? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see any stairs. I don't see the exterior door. I don't even see a car. I don't know what's going on. She's like, oh yeah, yeah, I live in the basement. I'm like, there's a basement? She's like, yeah, I live in the basement. I remodeled the basement and I rent out the upstairs and I stay downstairs. I'm like, That makes so much sense. The dog, the person, got it. Makes sense. Okay, not a ghost. Scratch the exorcism. Cancel the exorcism on, aisle 5. But you guys, why did I get drawn to the attic? So here's the teacher appearing. Here's the energy appearing to help me. Once, this is what I want you to understand from this story. Once I opened up that, or I put that antenna up, or I opened up that ability, opened up that door, however you want to see it, it does not matter. Once I did that, boom, I was aware of what was in the attic. But until I heard the voice, which turned out to be a real woman's voice and a real dog, before I heard that and started tuning into those abilities, opening that ability to see, is it this or is it that? Right? I didn't notice the attic. Nothing appeared to me in the attic. I was blocking that information. Now, there's nothing wrong with blocking information. You need to have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, then you end up knowing too much. If you know too much, you know that your boss is having an affair. You know that your sister-in-law's husband's having an affair. You know that your brother-in-law is stealing from the company. I mean, you just know too much. What are you going to do with that information? You're just going to suffer. That's what you're going to do. You're going to suffer. So you don't want to know. Okay? So you don't always want to know. It's okay to block. It's okay to have boundaries. Turn it on, turn it off. I always tell you guys about this ring. And it doesn't have to be anything special. All you have to do is tell the universe, tell your spirit guides, I'm connecting, I'm not connecting. I'm connecting, I'm not connecting. I'm open for business, I'm not open for business. Okay. Because I do this professionally, I learned this from somebody else, actually. I don't know who it was, but I think it was like John Edwards or John Holland, one of these big mediums. He said, I put a ring on when I'm working. I put this ring on. When I put this ring on, spirit knows I'm working. When I take this ring off, and I really do this religiously, I put it right on my desk and I go about my business with no ring. Put the ring on, I'm working. Okay. This ring happens to be labradorite. It's called the wizard stone. It's not expensive. This thing was probably $50. It's not elaborate. It's just my thing now, right? Now, so I've worked with spirit enough to say, don't bother me unless I'm wearing this. Like one time I made a mistake and went through an airport and got on a plane with this ring on. It was not pretty. I was like, what is going on? And I was looking at my ring in horror, like, oh my God. Okay. Now, I didn't have the ring on, but I turned on my abilities because this person, I could hear this voice and I needed to discern whether it was real or, spirit, whether it was 3D or non-physical. Okay. That's what happened. So you turn it on, you turn it off. You can use a thing like a necklace or a ring, or you can just use your own brain in your own mind and just say, I'm not working. Now, once I turned it on to discern, what happened was now I'm getting information, right? Like now I'm getting information from this addict situation. Now, what I did was I said, okay, stop. I am on vacation. If you need help, I will help you. I promise you, I will help you. However, it will be the last day of my vacation, probably the morning that I'm packing the car. I will go up there and I will help you. But do not bother me until then. If you want help, you need to wait until I'm ready to give it. I promise you I will do it. End of story. Now, you might say, why didn't you do it now and just get it over with, Susan? Because you're just living with this energy up there. I'm so glad you asked because I wasn't aware of this until I worked through this whole thing with my own mind and my own spirit guides. When I was talking to my spirit guides, like, I'm not working. Do you understand? I'm not working. I'm on vacation. I'm working very little, and ghost is not on my list of things to do. So what happened was the reason why I'm not doing it now is because if I really tune into this energy and I open the portal, and that sounds elaborate, and it sounds like some big thing that I'm doing, but it's really not. It's like you just in your mind, you learn to do this. Like you connect to the other side and you say, okay, maybe I bring in Archangel Michael. Well, Archangel Michael's going to come down from non-physical into physical just because I asked, because that's how it works. You don't have to be special. You don't have to have anything. You could be Joe Blow or Jeannie Blow or anybody. It don't matter. It does not matter. You're human. You have the right to ask for help. Period. End of story. But by calling Archangel Michael here and opening that seam in the veil, or open the portal, or open the door, whatever you want to call it, guess what's going to happen? The whole freaking ghost neighborhood is gonna know stuff is going down at Susan's Airbnb. Let's go check it out. They're gonna be rubbernecking. There's gonna be ghost rubbernecking. There's gonna be ghosts queuing up. There's gonna be people just trying to jack with me. Hey, let's see if this human can deal with this. Ha ha ha. You know what I mean? Like if you were at a park and you were trying to balance something on your head, and some wise, jerk person came up and said, "Let me try and make the thing jump off of your face," right? Like you can't do anything because you're focusing on keeping this balanced on your head, and they just want to jack with you. I don't have the time, frankly. And the human container, along with all the circuitry and wiring that is my astrology and numerology, is if you jack with me, I will jack with you back. So it's just not a good thing, right? Like it's not a good thing. I don't do well with tricksters. Um, I've been in a lot of scrapes spiritually. Okay. It's just not good. So what I decided was, why spend the next couple of days with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, ghost, entity, spirit, alien, whatever, troll, fairy, I mean, whatever, checking me out. There's a new kid on the block trying to act crazy in this house. Let's check her out, see what she's got. No, I'm going to cross that sucker over. I'm going to put up a shield, get in my car with my dog, and start driving south. That's what I'm going to do. By the time I open the portal, crossover, whatever's happening up there, um, I'll be gone, and I will seal it all up. So hopefully, nothing happens to I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not sloppy. I'm just saying, why put on a show? Okay. I don't think that had anything to do with what I was supposed to tell you, but it was probably interesting. Okay. Anyway, the teacher. So what happened was, this woman was the teacher, this physical human woman, and this experience that I had where I could hear her, but I couldn't hear her. That was my teacher. She was the teacher. She showed up to say, "Have an experience, Susan." Now, did she know? Because look, I read all the reviews. Did any of the reviews said woman lives in the basement? And believe me, when you stay at an Airbnb, people will review the owner and say, owner lives next door, like hint, hint, don't have any wild parties. You know what I mean? They'll tell you where the owner lives. And if the owner was invasive, you know what I mean? Always bothering you, because it's a problem. You don't want, you kind of want to have your own little, you rented the house. You want to have your house, right? Nobody mentioned that this woman lived in the basement. And I don't know if I would have rented this, because I'm trying to walk softly, and be quiet, because you know what I mean? Because she lives in the basement. And I don't want to bother her, right? But this is why this house was made available to me. This is why I was guided to rent this house, because she lives in the basement. She has a little dog. She's going to be talking. I'm going to hear it. It's muffled. It's going to invite me to tune in. Do you see how your spirit guides work? It's like little breadcrumbs, you know what I mean? Like, "Here, Susan, follow these breadcrumbs." "Okay, I will." And then I end up having this experience where I'm trying to discern, is this real or is this non-physical? And in the so we and in the offing of that, I'm going to have an experience with an entity that I need to cross over, okay? And all the bigger lesson here for me too is, I want, like I said earlier in this video, I just wanted to be a boring human. I just wanted to be a vanilla, boring human and have a vanilla, boring life. And I don't know why I wanted that because I sure as heck chose a completely different option. Like, I don't know if I read that box and clicked the box under it for crazy ghost, aliens, just I've had experiences, you guys, I'm telling you. Watch the videos in the ghost. Just watch the videos in the ghost thing. That's all I can say. And I'll promise you that those videos were not nearly as bad as what I experienced. Because I didn't want to scare people. So anyway, my lesson was to come to this house and to have this experience. Okay. So for you, the teacher can show up like this. You could be drawn, and this happened to me too. You can be to drawn meaning compelled or have an interest all of a sudden that's new. You could be drawn to have to watch a movie about ghost or watch a movie about physical mediumship or watch a movie about ancient rituals or even aliens, and you've never had an interest, or you've actively avoided it because it freaks you out. That's me. I didn't ever watch scary movies because the few that I watched as a kid scared the living daylights out of me. I've never watched Mad Max. Honestly, I don't even think I've ever seen Star Wars. I have seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I haven't seen any of these sci-fi movies because they're real. To me, a lot of this is real. and and it's scary because a lot of it is dystopian and a lot of it is not good, right? It's meant to scare the hell out of you, and I'm like, I've lived that, and I that's coming, you know what I mean? So I don't watch this stuff. But if you're drawn to it all of a sudden, you're like, I don't know why I'm reading this book. That's a teacher. That's you being guided to dip your toe into that energy, that experience. If you go see a speaker who's talking about something, you're like, I don't normally am not drawn to this. I don't know why I would want to do this. That's guidance. Anything that pops up in your life out of the blue, out of the ordinary, is guidance. The boring stuff is not guidance. The unusual stuff is guidance, right? So these teachers can appear in the sense that you even reading a book or watching a movie that you didn't even know had any paranormal anything in it, but yet there's a scene in it and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this is in there." And yet there it is, and it triggers something. It triggers a memory. It triggers a knowing. So when you have these knowings, I don't know why, but I know I've had this experience. Another thing is if you're really blocking it, it shows up like this. Like you sleep with the lights on at night. You sleep with the TV on because you've heard things and you want to drown it out. So if you're clairaudient, which is psychic hearing, you're very sensitive to noise. You either want complete silence or you want something that you're listening to that makes sense. You wouldn't be the kind of person who could listen to the TV in one room and have the YouTube going on in here. That would you couldn't handle that. You would also get like songs in your head. Like if you got a song in your head, you're like, you haven't heard this song in a long time. You might not even be that familiar with it. Write down what you're hearing, Google the lyrics. That is a message. Write it down in your book that we talked about earlier. So blocks can come because you had an experience when you were a child that you don't remember, but that experience has left this kind of scar or this kind of a coping mechanism is what they want to say. Your coping mechanism is you sleep with the lights on. The coping mechanism is you sleep with the TV on. The coping mechanism is you don't watch scary movies. The coping mechanism is you never tune into anything having to do with aliens. Um, the coping mechanism is you block all of your abilities, especially if you're the kind of person who sees ghost or feels energy or is even the word that they want to use is plagued by ghost, which I've been through all those things, right? Um, because you can tell yourself you're not psychic. You can tell yourself you're not intuitive. You can tell yourself you're not a medium. If you are, you are. I can tell myself, that I'm not right-handed, but if I try to write with my left hand, I'm not going to be able to read it. I am right-handed. It is. You're left-handed. It just is. You're not going to change that. You're just left-handed. You're ambidextrous. You're not going to change that. You just are. There's some things you just are, right? Your eye color is your eye color. You deal with it. So if you're psychic, intuitive, have mediumship, which is communicating to ghosts or communicating to other entities across the veil, you've got that preloaded. That is your preloaded special extra luxury option that you chose, and it's wanting to be used or respected is another word too. And if you're blocking it, you can't block it forever. Things like this are going to happen. Here I am on vacation. I'm not wearing my ring. I'm not asking to have no experiences. I'm asking to have zero experiences. Yet I still had an experience. I could not block it. You can only block to a degree. That it's more complicated than that. If you have a lesson to learn, you're not going to be able to block it. That's it in a nutshell. Obviously, I have a lesson to learn or something to understand so that I can then share it with you. And I couldn't get out of it. There was no way to get out of it, right? And I'm sure whatever happens in the attic between me and whatever's in the attic is going to be a whole thing. I'm sure I don't think it's evil. I'm not saying it's evil at all, because if it was evil, we would be doing this differently, right? Like if it was menacing me or evil to me, I would have dropped that exorcism ball of, energy on this house, right? It's not evil. It's just something that needs help, needs my help. Okay. Um, So the teacher will appear. Either you'll get a new friend that says, "Gosh, it's so good to know you and to meet you. And this may sound kind of weird, but I'm going to this meditation circle." This is what happened to me. Again, right? Like I wasn't into meditation. I kind of was knowing that I had abilities, but I didn't really know just talking to ghosts wasn't special to me. And anyway, so my new neighbor says, "Hey, I'm going to this meditation. Would you ever be interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." So I went and ended up meeting a lot of people that really influenced me and opened up my abilities. She, in that case, was the teacher. She was just a neighbor. You know what's how I also know? We went to this meditation thing twice together, and then she never went again. Like she was just there to get me to go to it, and then she went a different direction. She didn't hate it. She was just like, "Oh, I'm not interested in it." But I kept going. She was my teacher just for that little opportunity. And she doesn't know that. You don't know you're someone's teacher. You don't know that you're being guided to get somebody to do something. Because then, if you know the human component of what just humanness gets involved, and then the other human can pick up on it, and they're like, "Yeah, you really want me to do this too bad. Like why?" When they're clueless, genuinely clueless, and genuinely just open, like, "Hey, you want to go do this?" You say yes. She didn't know. That's why I said yes, because it was genuine, like, "Yeah, let's just go." There was no hidden agenda. There was nothing there. So you could be an unwitting teacher for someone else. You show up, you say something, they're like, "Yes, I want to do it." You guys do it, and then you go a different direction. So the last thing I would say is that they gave me this information and I thought it was very helpful. Think back, think back on your life. Think back about times when something happened that makes sense to you now. Okay, like think back to where you are now. Like you're here. How did you get here? How did you find this house? How did you find this apartment? How did you find this job? How did you find this mate? How did you find this thing, this hobby? Think back. Was there a person? Was there an event? Was there an experience? Think back and be open, because I'm picking up a new hobby, and I realize now that this new hobby that I now can look back and go, oh, like I can see spirits fingerprints all over. I can see how they guided me here, because hindsight's 2020. So look back and think, because it's interesting that you could have had a fight with somebody, and that fight could have led you to not quit your job, but to go talk to somebody who then suggested this and then that and then this, and then you ended up in a new job. But if you go back, it's really the person that had the fight with you that was the catalyst for how you got there. Start where you are now and go back and just see if you can pick out some odd experiences. They're not gonna be direct. It's not always direct. It's not, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not, where the person says, "Oh, you should be a psychic," or "You should be," I mean, that is true, actually. See how they get me to say things? I wanted to finish my thought. Okay, I'm gonna finish one thing before I jump to the next, which is, somebody could say, "Have you ever thought about moving?" And you're like, "No, I would never move." You forgot about that. You forgot about that conversation, because then they said, "Yeah, I thought I would never move either, but I moved and I am so happy." And you go, "Well, good for you." And you just go on about your business. But that person dropped a seed in your mind, in your energy, that was planted. You don't think it had anything to do with you. You don't think that had any bearing, but it does. Then the next thing I'll just say, because they brought it up, which is, people that are teachers, that are guides, that are lessons, whatever, I don't even know what to call them, because it's not really, teacher is not really the right thing. They're sort of like, I don't know what they are. I can't think, they can't give me a name. They're helpers. They want to call them helpers. Okay, great. People that show up in your life that are helpers. Um, I always tell you guys three things. Like, if three people have said to you, you should be a writer, you should be an artist, you should be a psychic, you should uh, be a teacher, you should go back to school, you would be great at whatever. If three different people say that to you, that is guidance. And if one of those people is somebody that you don't even know that well, strangers even, that is guidance. Three times. A stranger told you, your friend told you, and your family member told you. Three times. A coworker told you, a friend told you, a family member told you. Three times. Your sibling 20 years ago. Seriously. Your coworker 2 years ago, and your friend last week. That's guidance. That's guidance. It's the things that you're like, what? Like, I'm not good at that. I don't know why people keep saying that, right? That's what you say. I don't know why people keep saying that. Like, that's what I would say. Why do people keep wanting me to teach? I don't get it. I'm like terrified of teaching. Why would I do that? I'm not going to do that. That's how you know what your soul path is. Are you terrified of it? Number one. Number two, do people tell you to do it? Add those two things together, equals soul path. Okay. Those are helpers. Helpers are everywhere. Helpers can be strangers. Helpers can be anything. The thing is, the message repeats. Three people over the course of years or a decade or weeks or months, time does not matter on the other side. Plus, I'll tell you what they tell me, which is, well, you can always do it on your next life. I'm like, the hell you say? I'll do it this life, thank you. They don't care. They don't care if you do it in 10 lives. They don't care. Like, to them, it's like, human lives are so short. You could take 10 of those lives and do this job. Like, I don't want to take 10 of this. I don't know. What are you talking about? 10? I'm going to do this in this life, right? So it kind of gives you also a boost to want to do the work, to try to say, okay, let me figure this out. Let me meet my lessons, right? Like, if I were to take this lesson, whatever they got in the attic, I don't know. If I were to say, no, I have free will, I'm a human being, I know I have free will and I know you have to listen to me, which is true, except for your spirit guides and your soul lesson. It's true in every other situation. Aliens, Sasquatch, fairies, your mother-in-law, doesn't matter. It's true in all those situations. However, when it's your soul path, is not true. They don't give a god darn. Okay. So, I could have said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm just not." And I could have left, right? But I would have missed an opportunity to learn a lesson, and then the lessons start adding up, right? Like if you just keep ignoring the lessons, my God, they add up. And then you've got a big lesson coming that you don't really want and you didn't even need. So don't avoid the lessons. Don't avoid things in life. You know that saying, what you resist, persist. Don't avoid things. Meet whatever you're dreading head on, get it in the rearview mirror, and keep on moving. And that goes very much with spiritual things because a lot of us are afraid of it or dread it or don't know how to deal with it. If it is any energy that is not your spirit guide and it's not a lesson, and like, it's complicated, but you can always use this saying and it works 100% of the time. And you can say it, and if it doesn't work, then you know that it's your spirit guide and it's a lesson. Okay, but the saying is this, and this is the key to our whole human evolution. Believe it or not, it's just this simple, but it's life changing. And that is, I know as a human, I know that you know as whatever you are, Sasquatch. I'm not picking on Sasquatch. I like Sasquatch. UFOs, ghost entities, whatever they are, bad things that want to jack with you. I know that you know that if I tell you you have to leave me alone, that you do indeed have to leave me alone. I know that. Game over. Go away. Be gone. Okay? Because I know my power and I know that you have to listen to me. Okay? Now, why can't you just say, go away? Because you don't really mean it. You're afraid. That's like telling a robber, go away. Don't take my phone. Don't take my wallet. Go away. They're not going to go away. They're not going to go away. Why would they go away? They're not scared of that. This is universal law. And if you just say go away, they know that you don't know the universal law. If you state the law to them, they have to abide by it. I know that you know that if I tell you to get the hell out, you got to get out and leave me alone. So be gone. Boom, they're gone. They're not going to mess with you. You're not an easy target. You already know it's like saying to somebody, I know that this game is rigged and I know where the shell is under all those cups, right? I know what you're up to. So don't try it on me. Okay. So there is some really good advice for you, right? If you feel like you're being taunted or attacked or harassed by spirit, you need to stand up for yourself and you need to say that. Also, please understand that boundaries are the same. If you're being harassed by spirit or ghosts or energies, or you feel intimidated or you feel afraid of them, you don't have boundaries. And that also means you don't have boundaries in your physical life either. As above, so below. As within, so without. If you've got ghosts or energies in your house or whatever causing problems for you, I promise you, you have humans causing problems for you. Maybe even pets causing problems for you. Everybody is causing problems in your life. Why is my life doing this? It's because your lesson is to stand up and have boundaries. Okay? Again, I game here and I'm like, I have boundaries. I'm not working. Leave me alone. When it didn't go away, I knew that it was a lesson. Do you understand? Does that make sense now? When I said, I know, when I said the magic things, I know that you know that if I tell you to leave me alone, you have to. So be gone. When that didn't work, I'm like, it's a lesson. Now that I know it's a lesson, let me just deal with it, right? Okay. Hopefully, this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Let me know in the comments if you've had experiences like this. When we all share, we all learn from each other. That's what the spirit guides always say. If you've watched this video and you're not a subscriber, well, I don't know what you're waiting for. There's a whole lot more of this kind of hilarity and information out there for you. Please subscribe. If you think somebody might enjoy this video, please share it. And at the end of this video, you will see a link to watch or to even just go, not watch, but to go to the playlist where you can find all the wow videos. And if you so desire, even the ghost videos, whatever you want to do. There are ghost and alien videos in the wow videos. Okay. There's all, again, 80. It's free. It's like a free spiritual library. Anything you can imagine, I've done a video on it. How to deal with evil ghosts. What happens to souls that are evil when they cross over? How to raise your vibration. How to figure out your soul contract. I mean, just 80 different topics, right? So it's very helpful. Please check them out. Share them with your friends and family, and take really, really good care of yourself. Okay. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday.